basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and
my
to the
goodness.
line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. It's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome to one of the most legendary circuits in all of motorsports, Mount Panorama in Bathurst, Australia. This daunting 3.8 mile public road course is famous for its extreme elevation changes, tight mountain S's, and the blistering fast Conrod Straight, where GT3 machines will stretch their legs before diving into the heavy braking zone at the chase. Precision is everything here. Drivers must balance aggression with survival as the walls sit just inches away through the technical middle sector. One mistake at the top of the mountain can end a result in an instant. Tonight, the Breaking Bad GT3 League takes on the iconic challenge where bravery, discipline, and racecraft will decide who conquers the mountain. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. Thank you very much for staying tuned. I am your host, Sagar Bakshi. Joined with me in the broadcast booth, brought to you by Racers Nexus, is Steven Kernick. Steven, how are you feeling tonight?
Absolutely wonderful. Back in the down under, and I gotta say, here at Bathurst, I'm extremely excited about it because not only just a couple of weeks ago we sat with the Bathurst 12 hour where drivers got to have a bit of fun. Now we get to race around this 6.2 kilometer circuit, 23 corners, believe it or not. Many drivers don't quite think it was that. But opened in March 1938 and has got some very interesting history that even Forest Elbow, named after Arthur Ronald Jack, who went and damaged his elbow, going and crashing out practice, later called it the Devil's Elbow. So I've got to say, this circuit here in Bathurst in Australia, up and down the mountainside, is going to be a great point for our GT3 pros and AMs to score points and move their way up through the ladder.
Absolutely. Right now, it's Jed Cotterham leading in front of Kyle Smith in the GT3 Pro category. Cole Malley in third, Carl Ross in fourth, LaShawn Young-Dilworth in fifth, Kyle Descharme in sixth, Josiah Kelly, John Voigt, Roberto Perez, and Rafael Rodriguez round out the top 10 in GT3 Pro.
And looking at Pro-Am, it is Kenneth Copping who leads it out on 133 points. Oliver Brooks 3 points behind. Kobe Brooks in third place. Farias Ibrahim in fourth. Francis Peralt in fifth. Marshall Darden sits in sixth place. Nicholas Lawrence Paul in seventh, followed by James Clark, Chet Miller, and Owen Huffington to round out the pack. But keep an eye on that 8th and 9th position, tied in points. Anyone's looking forward to moving up into the top 10. And we're looking forward to seeing how drivers are going to handle it. Because if we go back to Imola, where it all fell apart, where everyone got close to one another, where even our GT3 Pro-Am and Pros got to mix wheels with one another to ultimately see who gets to the top, I think Bathurst here is going to be a rather interesting play because Fayez Ibrahim, at the moment, going to be one to keep an eye out for in the GT3 AM. But Corey Jones, who leads out the GT3 Pro in his Aston Martin, is not holding back at the moment and wants to get ahead of Carl Ross. In practice, we saw the two exchanging blows with one another of who's got the fastest lap time. Now it comes down to the critical 8 minutes and 23 seconds to get it done. and then put your focus to climbing the mountain at full stead.
We would be remiss without mentioning our title sponsor of tonight's event, Maxim Motorsports. For all of your go-kart dynamic tuning or accessories needs, check out Maxim Motorsports. And more specifically, tonight's sponsor is going to be Kalina's Snapshots Photography. We're going to talk to them here in just a little bit during our warm-up session. But for now, it is going to be Corey Jones and João Baptista topping the charts in front of Carl Ross and Clancy Garvin. Javier Sierra, Dennis Crosby, Kyle Smith, Frank Perot, Philip Kelly, and Kyle Deschirm are going to round out your top 10. Someone I want to keep an eye on right now is this man right here, Cole Malley, who we haven't seen put down a good lap just yet. And in the final 7 minutes of this qualifying, it'll be important for him to get the hurry up and go quicker rather than later.
Now, Cole O'Malley, who we've seen get right to the top more than once, unfortunately at the moment, just not getting the lap put together. You could see a very ugly exit out of the final corner, dipping the wheel into the dirt once, twice, 3 times over. Unfortunately, that is just going and affecting the time. Can also go and invalidate it if it's a little too far over. But in the Porsche, which is rather nimble, especially up the climb of the mountain, is great to have, but you've got to concentrate on the braking down to 3rd gear, in through turn 2 as you charge your way up the hill, not wanting to back out at the moment, but it looks like maybe having a difficult time trying to keep that Porsche in check, having to counter steer every so often, very, very light on the back, tells me that he is concentrating on maximizing speed versus downforce and is really just hanging on for dear life as he climbs the mountain, heading towards Skyline, very, very close to the wall in McPhillamy Park, charging his way through. Now it is going to be downhill. This is where it all lightens up underneath you, heading to the dipper, down to 2nd gear. Keep a little bit of pressure on the diff as you charge your way through. You don't want the rear to slip out underneath you. Down the way to Forest Elbow, down 2nd gear. Keep pressure on that diff again. Get a good exit. Very, very close to the wall. And Cole O'Malley trying to do everything he can. So Cole needs to see what he can do here as it's flat out the whole way through, down the Conrad straight. It's going to be a little bit of a kink to the right before you head into Murray's corner. It is a fast left-hander that you really got to gear down. Into 5th, into 3rd, and now into 2nd, carrying a lot of momentum, very close to the fringe of the circuit yet again. He is absolutely booting it, hoping that he can get a 2-minute 01.3 to go and match Corey Jones. But can he work it out as he gets across the line? He's able to move up into 6th position. And you can see how critical the climb up the mountain can be if you really want to stand and wait to the top. But the drivers have to work on their setups to have a little bit of give and take during the course of this race. And unfortunately, he's giving up a lot of pace climbing the mountain instead of coming down it. Just not having that much pressure on the rear to keep it all in check and focusing on top end speed.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that the Porsche is really going to struggle with a lot here coming down the Conrad straight, is it's just not going to have the same top end speed as a lot of the other cars, but it will be nimble and fast through the mountain section where it isn't exactly going to be opportune to get moves done on those cars around you, as Malley has a little bit of a kiss and a bigger grace with the wall. I think you can sense the frustration in his eyes as he calls it quits for the qualifying run.
And that's there was the little French kiss that came after it. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out. Maduro, a driver that has also been on a stellar climb. It's one driver that I do think we need to keep a very close eye on in the Ford Mustang. Now, I know there's a couple of Mustang drivers that are hoping that Joey the Kangaroo stays right away, especially coming out of the Forest Bend. But I just want to point out to everyone out in the virtual grandstands, a massive welcome to you guys joining us from around the world here at the beautiful circuit of Mount Panorama. and I can't wait to see what the racing's going to be like. We actually want to hear from you. Who do you think is going to be top of the charts come the end of this race in both our Pro and Pro-Am category? Because we can't get rid of that fact, as we have got two different classes racing against one another at the same time. We've got Baptista, who currently leads out the Pro. We've got Peralta, who's leading out the Pro-Am. They're going to have to navigate each other and defend their class fights. And at the moment, Peralta's ahead of Dennis Crosby and Carl Densham to open up the gap to Philip Kelly, and Baptista currently leads out the top. But beautiful to have our driver cams showing us a little bit more insight of how it is behind the rigs and little uses that they've got. You'll note that some of the drivers will use triple screens, others use single screens. And I've got to say, advanced air conditioning system utilizing the fan for the likes of Karim at the moment. Got to say, love it, the utilizing the fan. But interesting enough, I don't think the Porsches are going to work as well. What I'm noticing is the climb up the hill. The cars are very loose. Now, we've just coming into week 13. The cars on iRacing BOP is going to definitely come into play for next week. But the Porsches, everyone's focused on the top end. Those rears are not too much in check as they get through the climb. However, they're going to be a bit more handy on fuel usage versus the others. And that's where the pit stops are going to come into play.
Yes, it will come down to the pit stops at the end of the day, because we do have a very long race ahead of us, folks. And the drivers are getting pushed to their absolute limit. It's not going to matter so much how fast you can be over one lap. It'll matter how consistent you can be across the entire stint, especially at a challenging to pass track like the Bathurst Mountain. Some drivers will go for the risk, and others will be cautiously optimistic to wait for their opportunities going down into the chase. Now, Sahan Karim is still running in 29th position overall and trying to find a little bit better. That'll be Keon Maduro into the pits and leaving Karim, the last driver, out on track for the remaining 55 seconds of the qualifying session.
Deep breath into the left-hander. Take a little bit of a close apex. Beautifully done. Looking rather clean. This is going to be a good lap from Karim. You can just see a little bit more put together. Now trying into the final corner. This is where it gets tricky to just turn the nose in as the corner tightens up on you. Flat onto the gas. Not too far wide. And I do think this is going to be a good one. Comes across the line. Up into 28th position. But not completely out of the works yet. I've got to say, times are looking so impressive out on the track. Drivers ready to give it their absolute all. I'm really looking forward to this race. It's going to be something interesting, and it doesn't look like many people have got the advantage over one another. Bathurst could be the ultimate equalizer and start bringing the championship even closer in both classes.
We're only a few rounds into this championship, so the championship has stayed tight as far as points are concerned, but things are about to spice up just a little bit more. And hold on, folks, as we wait to get down for our next interview. It looks like we're going to be grabbing Kyle Smith next. We're still waiting for Kyle Smith to come down, but we will be interviewing our next person for our spotlight here, and our interviewee is going to be Kyle Smith. Kyle Smith, how do you do, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Living the dream, as they say, working hard, getting paid. Now, talk to us about Kalina's Snapshots Photography.
Yeah, so it's actually not my business or my wife's business. It is Kyle Dersham's wife's business. And
okay.
So basically, for anyone in Midwestern Ohio that needs any photography, weddings, just normal pictures, anything. I've seen her work. She does great work on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. So yeah, if you need any photography needs or anything like that, feel free to reach out to her on Instagram, Facebook, or reach out to Kyle Dersham in Discord.
That would be great. Now, have you used their services in the past, and what type of services have you used them for? Is it for headshots, family shots?
I have not, but I have personally seen them use do family shots. I think she's done weddings. I have not. I don't live in the area, so I can't say.
So we're talking about high-end photography stuff. If we're talking about going down to like wedding shoots, that's some pretty high-level stuff, right?
Yeah, she does good work.
That's fantastic.
I've seen the work she does, and it's really nice and really looks good.
That's great. It's not like me. I claim to be a drone photographer, and really I just take video of my dog chasing a ball, right? No, this sounds like a true professional at what she does and a high-quality individual. So if you're ever looking for any photography shots or need some headshots or potentially even some touch-up of some photography, I'm sure that she can hook you up with those needs.
Oh, yes. Yep, and like I said, any Midwestern Ohio's where they're located at. So if you're in that area or vicinity, I'm also pretty sure she might even travel a little bit more depending on what the job is and what's needed to be done. So, yep.
Really appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Now, we'll let you spend the last 2 minutes of the free practice or the warm-up session settling in for the Bathurst Mountain.
Yeah, I need it. Thanks, guys.
Take care, brother.
Yep, catch you guys later.
Well, I've got to say, with any type of photography, you got to have the eye for it, and it's wonderful to see a bit of the real world meeting the virtual world. I've got to say, when it comes to the spotlights that we've been having, getting to get a background of all different people that are involved here in the Breaking Bad GT3 League, it's wonderful to see how many talents come out, how many unique talents come out, and what people do in the background. There's a driver, not related to the person, but wants to show a talent, go and show it off, and being a part of the virtual side of things is absolutely incredible, and once again brings back the family dynamic that we actually have here as friends, as drivers, as league runners. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it's all going to work out from now. But I have to ask, actually, who do you think is going to be at the top of this race? Because you and I have both witnessed this time and time again. Drivers can be quick. Drivers can be absolutely incredible. But it takes just one moment, one time, that you just lose that little bit of focus where you think, I think I've got this. All of a sudden, you get to meet the wall of the beautiful circuit of Bathurst that makes you question a few things.
Well, I'm questioning a lot of things right now, and my participation in this league is starting to become one of them, because I think I'd rather see myself behind the wheel than behind the microphone here at the Bathurst Mountain, because it's starting to get a little bit spicy in this championship. Things are starting to spice up on the racetrack, and I kind of want to be part of the action. Now, Steven, if you were me, how would you get inserted into this league?
Well, first thing, I would go and reach out to the Breaking Bad and be a part of the show. Also, down in the description, everything is there here on the Racer Nexus channel. But that being said, let's take a look at where our GT3s are running. Oliver Brooks, Kenneth Coping, and Doug Miller are going to be chasing each other down here at Mount Panorama. But for our team, it's going to be a bit of an interesting run for Frank Peralt, Philip Kelly, and Oliver Brooks, that will be chasing each other down for that AM order. Now, the question that comes in for each of our drivers is, our top three runners are not too far from one another in their times from both Pro and Pro-Am side. And I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to catch up. But don't count out like Carl Smith, likes of Kelly, Carl Ross, Mally, who we've seen who are able to pull their way through. And I'm actually on radio comms with the drivers, and you can hear how the discussions are. Just keep it clean, keep it together, and let's rather save it for the first lap. But taking a look at our starting lineup, Corey Jones, Joe Bautista in second place, Carl Smith, Cole Ross, followed by Joe Kelly, Jarvis Sierra, along with Cole Malley, Kron Maduro, Jed Kottman, and Efrael Rodriguez round out at P10.
P11 belonging to John Voight, Rafael Rodriguez, Philip Kelly, Frank Perot, Jamie MacArthur, Kyle Desherm, Oliver Brooks, Nicholas Oruno, Faraz Ibrahim, and Kenneth Coping.
A little bit down, Chet Miller, James Clark, Nicholas Paul, Owen Houghton, Kirby Brooks, Sean Curran, JC Chase, Doug Miller, Christopher Adams, and Clancy Gavin go and round out a P30. But as they get going, Dennis Crosby at the back will have to try and play a little bit of catch up, as it's a great run from Baptista, getting ahead of Corey Jones as they charge their way up through the field. Carl Smith pushed to the outside line, now having to go and make his way through. And third back, Frank Peralt trying to keep onto the back and move forward. This is Jamie Carter at the moment that's hunting him down in the Porsche. Out in front though, Corey Jones not wanting to hang around. A clean start through Hell's Court, now needing to carry the way through. Jamie MacArthur looking to get the inside as they start the climb in anger up the mountain. Absolutely clean start. No one having a problem. Dennis Crosby out of the running at the moment. He is still trying to pick himself up from pit lane, but it is Frank Peralt who is really starting to feel the understeer coming out of the Mustang. This is Naxon up top, and it's going to be a Constantina effect.
Oh, Rafael Rodriguez parked in an extremely dangerous position, but has done a great job of holding his brakes, driving the number 80. And I told you I wanted to be out on track. Rafael Rodriguez is probably wishing to exchange positions with me right about now.
Honestly, I'll leave this to the pros, because man oh man, to go and lose it and not land up with a big smack is absolutely incredible. But that being said, Kobe Brooks on the way down, trying to play a little bit of catch up as the field starts to string out. Everyone trying to work their way through, and we do have another driver going down the ladder, and that's Jamie MacArthur. That is just rolling down. Jamie MacArthur is absolutely bailing down and looks like is out into the pits. Jed Kotzman moving up from 7th position, from 9th to 7th, is looking to hold on for dear life, losing a little bit of time to Cole Malley at the moment, just keeping focus on what he needs to do. It's a long race out there, and the drivers need to realize when to push, when not to push. These tires start warming up from lap 3. Nicholas Paul also landing up in the dirt, and he's dropping down the order. So just little mistakes starting to creep in from the drivers, and early on with their tires being rather cold and having to focus forward.
Here's a look from Keon Maduro right now with Javier Sierra. Is the driver under threat? There goes a big look from Maduro to the inside line, but he falls in single file line at the end of the day. And from the looks of it, Maduro is driving a motion simulator. Isn't that the coolest thing you've ever seen since sliced bread, Steven?
Got a bit of the roller coaster attached and going with it. It's also got the rather unique Mazda steering where it's actually got the screen in the middle that rotates with you. A little bit different to the Mustang. It's more commonly found on the Bentley, but absolutely pushing it to a limit. And I would love to feel the roller coaster, especially charging around the beautiful circuit of Bathurst. But at the moment, Maduro trying to stay on the back of Sierra ahead of him, trying to see if he can close the distance, because Jed Kotzman and Malley further up the road are not too far and can go and reach out and grab them. They're at arm's length at this moment, just having to hold on. A quick look around, just trying to understand, okay, where do I need to make some time? Where do I need to go? And how far can I push to go forward? As we got the likes of Jesse Chase, who is meatballed and into the pits. Christopher Adams into pit lane as well. So Jesse Chase, unfortunately, something's gone on with him. Change for the lead, it goes to Joe Baptista. John Clark going and moving up. We've got a few drivers that are having a ton of fun out there, but Corey Jones trying to fight back. Looked around the outside, Baptista guards the inside line, and Corey just not able to get that drive out of the final corner to get past Baptista, but will aim for Hell's Corner. Late on the brakes, wants to maximize the drive through. And we also saw a quick flash from the likes of Joseph Kelly to the likes of Carl Smith. So just a quick flash saying, hey, listen, I'm here. Let's go. Let's try and keep up with the leaders. The running line astern. Cole now under some serious pressure as Sierra looks around, goes for the inside. But now will swap around to the outside and start to climb the hill. Oh, absolutely beautiful. Both side by side. Not often you get to see that. Beautifully done. And Cole going and giving it a little bit of a lift as he gently climbs the mountain, trying to figure out where can he gain time, and starts to look in his mirrors as he battles out, being chased down by the Chevys in a little bit of a sandwich at the moment. Javier Sierra behind him, Jen Klotzman ahead of him. Jen getting a beautiful, beautiful run through, but right on the back of him is Maduro, not wanting to lose out a bit of time. And take a look at the different paces they make their way up to Skyline and now down towards the Dipper.
This is starting to become a little bit of a dangerous situation to be in. A 4-car train running down the mountain. Here she comes, and they're just grazing the wall and bottoming out as well. It's starting to become dangerous because they're catching in some of the most dangerous parts of the circuit, right at the top of the mountain. They're not necessarily catching each other here at the Conrad Straight as Chet Miller tumbles down the order after a crash and goes immediately back to pit lane. It's looking like it might be a move for Jed Cotterman. No, it won't be a move for Jed Cotterman. In defense, at the very least, in front of Cole Malley. He'll be able to defend just by driving his own line. Philip Kelly is the leader of the Pro-Am category right now and is running in 12th place overall.
Take a look at how much time they're arguing with each other, how they've lost the run to the sharp end of the field. Jed Cotterman sitting nearly 3 seconds apart, having to defend like mad, trying to battle it out. So we do have one of our drivers, that's Christopher Adams, coming out of pit lane from an earlier damage. He's now having to sit to the left-hand side, going to be lifting to allow the cars through, but that also takes away the passing opportunity for the cars behind. Like what Cole Malley needs to close the distance. But Jed Cotterman seeing where he can move. Baptista and Corey Jones, still a knife fight between these two behemoths. The V8s roaring up the circuit, trying to get ahead of one another. They've got Carl Smith 1.7 seconds behind, which sounds like a lot, but it takes one mistake in the mountain, as we've seen, that can throw you out of this race in a blink of an eye.
Truly takes one small, minuscule mistake to ruin your entire race here when the margins are as tight as they are up against the concrete barriers here at Mount Panorama. And it is a grueling that is unforgiving. I often like to say when you race against the mountain amongst a grid of drivers, no one really wins except for the mountain because she'll claim all. Corey Jones with a good run down towards the kink. Will it be a look towards the inside line? It's awfully dangerous even in GT3 cars to go side by side, but it looks like the Aston Martin will follow a single file line for now as the Mustang of João Baptista, and the number 3 tries to defend now into Murray corner. Will it be a look or a send and a half? It will be from the 54. Pass for the lead there, and Corey Jones is through.
Absolutely brilliant drive, and take a look. Carl Smith and Joseph Kelly closed up at a rate of knots. Now they are on the back of these two after they argued with one another. It's gone from a two-way fight. Well, let's make it 5 different cars to roll it out. Carl Ross trying to close up the distance to them. Baptista all the way out from Brazil. fighting it out against Corey Jones, had a wonderful defense, but now needs to switch on how to go back on the offense. Moving up through the order, Carl Smith and Joseph Kelly will be trying to close up the distance, as well as our front two start to slightly move up the road, and Shedon Karam diving into pit lane, so getting a bit of work done on the car as well. These drivers are giving it the absolute all. The question comes in, who's got the stamina to keep up this pace? The times that they're running is just absolutely mental. The last thing you want to do is start burning yourself down too much. Joe Baptista sits with a 204.5. Carl Smith on his last did a 202. That tells you how much Baptista and Corey Jones actually slowed up to allow Carl Smith, Joseph Kelly, and Carl Ross. They're running the 202. Well, our front two, fine thing with a 203 and a 204 on that final lap. But it was just absolutely mental. Maduro on a stellar drive at the moment. You can see how hard he's actually having to work to keep that car in check, and seeing what's going to be the best run at Javier Sierra, who runs a little bit further up the road. The Chevy's having a great one, but we have got a side-by-side as Cole Malley and Jed Kotterman going and fighting it out. And it looks like Cole is going to go around the outside through the kink. Got the inside, later on the brakes, gets it hooked in. A little bit of a slip, but managing to get ahead of Jed Kotterman, and now needs to keep his foot firmly pinned to the road.
And I think there was a big audible and visual gulp from Cole Malley in relief as he finally was able to get around Jed Kotterman. You would think they were battling for the lead of this event, the way that they were exchanging blows left and right on each other, but no, this is still the battle for 6th and 7th. Coveted points paying positions nonetheless. Jed Kotterman has not relinquished this position just yet. In fact, he's closing down the gap on the Porsche up the mountain straight.
It's going to be about looks for the inside. Couldn't quite get it done yet. As Jed Kotterman coming back with a bit of vengeance. Malley getting a little bit wide, losing a bit of time. Now trying everything he can to keep the likes of Jed Kotterman at bay, who's just leading on him quite a bit. Take a look at Javier Sierra, also closed up the distance by a dramatic amount. And how close can you flirt with a wall? Maduro, I think, Quincy gave it a little bit of a kiss on the way through, but absolutely mental pace, and you've just got to have faith in your mechanical grip as you charge your way through Skyline, now heading down towards the dipper, no one giving an inch, and it's all flirting with just millimeters against the wall, as we do see James Clark with a meatball flag and into pit lane. And that's one of the Mountain's favorite things to do, claiming spare parts. Ooh, and it looks like a couple of drivers giving the kiss to the wall as well through Forest Elbow.
Battle for the lead here continues to brew up. The gap between Corey Jones, though, and João Baptista has exchanged down to 1.4 seconds. Kyle Smith in tow, only 0.3 back now, battling with the muscling V8 of the Ford 03 in P2 for now.
Now this is going to be an interesting one. The Mercedes has got a lot of rotation on the rear to keep it up in check, but I'm rather interested. Carl Smith has been closing on João Baptista, and I'm looking at the times. Baptista's been slowly but surely getting a little bit slower. He's maybe starting to protect the tires towards the end of trying to keep the tires alive a little bit longer. We've got 47 minutes into this race to go, and the last thing you want is to go and land up with a bit of a problem, as we see side-by-side moment. Kelly trying to duck on the inside of the Chevrolet, battling it out. Absolutely mental charge. And what a run. Cole Ross managing to get ahead of Kelly only by a fraction as they went up the hill. Now it's all about Ferrari chasing Chevrolet all the way through to Skyline.
Nose to tail down through the parks all the way to Skyline, that's for sure. And the driver's kicking up a little bit of pocket sand here up on track, but Carl Ross and Josiah Kelly still battling for 4th and 5th overall. they don't settle this bout sooner rather than later, Cole Malley might be in tow as well. Surprised to see Cole not perform at his peak form as he has in the previous 2 rounds of this championship. He's always been a contender to be in my top 5, but doesn't seem to be going his way this time around. Any thoughts, Steven?
My thoughts on it is the circuit can play either in your favor or against you. The temperature at the moment, it does allow for the cars to slip and slide a bit, maybe playing a bit more of a patient game at this point, keep yourself within the points. There's still a bit of time. I mean, it's 18 degrees track side, which is on the cooler side, partly cloudy, humidity's up a bit. You're going to have the rear not quite in check with you. You're going to have to really conserve tires. And that brings it to this type of circuit. It is a monster against your tires as, oh boy, we got a little bit of a blip coming in from Cole Ross. Now that's going to give Josh O'Kelly a little bit of a fright, especially coming out of turn 1, heading towards turn 2. Just trying to guess where the Chevy is. But this circuit is heavy on your tire deck, and you will end up trying to move forward without pushing too hard. So maybe just a little bit of a lift at the moment, and thinking about strategy versus top line pace, and maybe the setup just not quite in favor of the circuit at the moment.
That's very true.
This is still early. It's early starts.
That's very true. Early starts, setup variants, car variants, you know, coming to this track. It's not necessarily the strongest here. We've known other cars across other simulators to get varying balance of performance at a track like Bathurst. But of course, Javier Sierra loses a position to Keon Maduro. Took me 3 times to spit that one out. But the 88 now up into 8th place now. And now Russ is head behind Jed Conner, who's fallen out of favor from Cole Malley. Now we have the 06 leading the 7, leading the 88 in trio now.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one. And another Frank Peralt, who started right at the top of the field for our Pro-Ams into the pits along with Christopher Adams. So we are starting to see the top runners landing up in the pits, and those that were landing up at the top. So got a change of position. It's Nicholas Uno who is now leading out the GT3 Am, and Corey Jones leads out the GT3 Pro. Starting to see some new names as Maduro got it a little bit out of shape coming out of the final corner. But interesting racing right the way through, and drivers now into a brawl. Clancy Gavin dives up on the inside trying to clear past one of our Mustangs and keeps eyeing out what can he do to close up distance to Kenneth Coping ahead. And there is the full McLaren trying to find its way back through the field. But man, oh man, we are having fights all over. Javier Sierra up on the inside, well, loses the inside line. Going to try for the cutback. Maduro managing just to eke out ahead as both American brand cars, the V6 turbocharged Chev versus the brutal naturally aspirated V8 of the Ford Mustang. It's who's got the better torque in and out through the corners. Maduro is starting to feel the pressure though. We saw the slip a little bit earlier. We saw the car backling, and I think for likes of Sierra, this is now a perfect opportunity. Sit, wait, put the pressure, and let the Mustang make a mistake.
Now there's also the opportunity for the pit stop cycle to take advantage of, right? Because we do have this unique format where the drivers will most likely have to be taking at least 1 pit stop, if not 2, depending on the damage that they've incurred throughout the mountain bout. Now, if you're just sitting behind in fuel saving, you could potentially gain some advantage in the pit stop cycle. Is that right?
That's it. Now it could be lifting a little bit. So instead of racing at 100% or 100 to 90%, you can lift to roughly 90 to 80%. You can save about a lap and a half just sitting behind your competition, like what Javier Sierra is. As long as you're within a second of the car ahead of you, you've got that little bit of a slipstream tow to pull yourself along. And at the same time, you can save tires. But this is a simulator, which means that airflow over the car does actually count. You've got the car in front punching a hole in the air. That means you've got less resistance, makes you rather quicker. Great. You save fuel. Great. But your aerodynamics that you're trying to rely on, well, it needs airflow, and unfortunately that's being taken away. So you're going to feel the front end and the tail be a little bit more playful with you. Start to move around a bit, and as you start to open up through one another, you get pressure on one side of the car, no pressure on the other. That can also upset the balance quite a bit. It's a bit of a seesaw effect. You've got to be very, very careful on that factor. At the same time, you don't want to be mimicking the car ahead of you, because whatever mistakes they make, you're going to follow suit on it, and especially here in the mountain. It just takes 1 meter or 2 meter later on the braking, and you're going to be kissing the wall, which is going to break the bodywork and kill that drive that you need down the Conrad straight. These are all little factors that come into play, and I've got to say, from at the pace, it's just incredible to watch some of the world's best having a go at one another. And I say that because Corey Jones out from Australia, you've got Batista out from Brazil, you've got Fayez Ibrahim from Canada fighting against Carl Ross, Joseph Kelly, or even like we've got Javier Sierra going and having a brilliant run out on circuit, showing what they can do as pro drivers. But there has been gains. One that we haven't spoken about too much is Jean Fort, up 3 places since he started. Jed Kottman up 2 places, and Madura up 2 places, and it looks like he might fall down a place.
It looks like a great battle here between Javier Sierra and Keon Maduro out in front, like we said earlier. The 6 in 6th, the 7 in 7th, and the 88 in 8th place. And the 979, well, he's aptly put in 9th place right now. One thing I wanted to point out is look at how well Javier Sierra has been pushing that Corvette around the mountain. He's missing something that falls off the car when you graze up against the concrete barrier intentionally. Well, he's missing that left side mirror. That's how well he's been pushing up against the mountain walls, but he hasn't lost a quarter panel on that left side either. So he has looked but not touched the walls here at Mount Panorama.
It's just a bit of aero drag. It's drag reduction. Remove the mirror.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Just it's drag reduction. NASCAR, don't worry about it. They haven't got mirrors on the side. Trying out something a little bit different. Now, you might think that doesn't affect you, but for anyone that's racing in triples and likes to use their mirrors, that's a nightmare affair. You're blind on the left-hand side. You'll have to use the virtual mirror that sits above you, and you've got to look slightly up to do it. Even on your triple screens, some drivers prefer to have their mirrors engaged versus turning them off. And it does start to play on you a little bit because you got used to it there. Now it's gone. And this is one thing that gets rather interesting, because it will be that little gremlin in the back of your head that will start to bug the living daylights out of you. But I do want to point out, Jed Kottman is within arm's reach of our front pack. And take a look at John Vaught, who's having a brilliant run at the moment. Slowly but surely climbing his way up through the order and wanting to see where he can stay into the fight, as we got Sian Karam, who was in the pits earlier this race, climbing back up. James Clark in with the meatball flag, unfortunately damage to the car, and it will be needing a bit of repair work to get back out on the circuit. One thing about this race, if you can get the car fixed, it's worth just getting the car back on circuit, circulating, and getting those points. You want to ensure that you maximize the points throughout the championship, because the last thing you want to do is sit back and go, I lost that position by a single point. And you'll remember the race that you didn't get back out on the circuit.
Definitely. You want to get back out on the circuit and try to battle for as many of those points-paying positions as you can possibly get. Even if it's just for bragging rights at the end of the day, it all ends up meaning something to the drivers.
Every everyone out on the virtual grandstands having a wonderful time going and taking a look at our fantastic drivers giving everything they can, as Jed Cotterman getting a bit of pressure at the moment, slowing through the circuit, trying to figure out if he could save that little bit of fuel. Now has got Maduro on the back of him, and also going and trying to keep it away from Javier Sierra, who's also closed down at a rate. And Cotterman, I think, starting to feel the pressure that is lurking around him, and now having to refocus, rearm, and go on to the attack to yet again. However, Maduro and Javier Sierra, with not brawling against one another, have just pulled each other closer and closer. Say, right, let's focus on the attack here. We can both make up a bit of time. We can both move forward, and it's all going to be played for later on, as Javier, not wanting to get that pass done and dusted as yet, waits behind Maduro, who really closes up to Jed Cotterman. I mean, this is a nightmare case scenario. And I've got to say, if you're Jed Cotterman, what are you going to do? How are you going to deal with Maduro and Javier Sierra? Because once that door opens up, then he... Oh, never mind, as we just lost Jed Cotterman. Yep, Jed Cotterman spun it in the final corner, and there's another rear wing sitting there as well. And, well, for Jed Cotterman, looks like he's broken. No rear wing on that Chevrolet as we take a look at the replay. Braking into the final corner. Did he touch the dirt, or did the car just lose it? Oh, the tail end just going around the corner, bang against the wall, and you should also see a McLaren. Oh, it was a Lamborghini that landed up the 29, going and getting twisted round and stopping as well. Not quite going to plan for John Vaught, who went a little bit late, hooked the dirt, and that was it. But unfortunately, Jed Cotterman will need a bit of repair work. There's no work that can, well, there's no way of going and getting around with no aero on the back of the car, especially around the mountain.
No, that is a long way to go back around a very tough racetrack before you can get repairs taken care of and get back even into some form of racing shape, let alone the time it'll take for him to get those repairs done. But right now, it's Javier Sierra and Keon Maduro battling for 7th and 8th now, as we've lost touch with Jed Cotterman, who is falling down the pack and, yes, has taken the tow truck back to pit lane.
Unfortunately, meatball flag, I think Winton met the wall a little bit again. You can break the rear wing off and still keep it out of a meatball flag, but I do think that the aero landed up with him kissing the wall, and that unfortunately affected the steering. Now, I am getting reports from the drivers that they're having nearly 4 minutes of damage just by going and knocking the wall. So it can get a bit worse from there. Many of the drivers trying to think what can they do to get back out on the circuit. And a couple of the drivers all getting on the comms, trying to figure out what happened to Jed Cotterman and trying to figure out what happened to him. A little bit of, well, where did he fall off? What happened? Do I need to be concerned with the dirt that could be lurking around? Clancy Gavin dives down the inside line, gets it beautifully done. A little bit out of shape on the throttle. But Clancy Gavin doing an absolutely incredible drive. Now needs to make up a bit of time. Remember, Nicholas Ono, behind him, is the Pro-Am leader. So not necessarily having to get into a fight with the likes of Gavin ahead of him. But at the moment, needs to keep a very close eye on Oliver Brooks that's closing the distance.
Oliver Brooks is definitely there, lurking in the wings behind Nicholas Owano right now in their battle for P1 in the category, although it says P11 and P12 overall. This is the battle for the lead in the Pro-Am category.
And it's interesting to say that we've got a driver that we don't necessarily see at the sharp end of the field leading here at Bathurst. And this is one thing about the circuit that brings out drivers that, well, can get the pace. And, oh, Nicholas going into the dirt, having a bit of a bad run, will be carrying a lot of just marbles all the way through into the dipper, and now having Oliver Brooks onto the back, fighting out for Pro-Am. But to have Nicholas, who managed to move up through the order, 10 places since the start of this race, and just keeping on going. Oliver Brooks up 6 places just by keeping it all together. How's this for a pit stop? Joseph Kelly into pit lane from the top 5, and that is a Ferrari looking a little bit second-hand on the nose.
Unfortunately for Kelly, but I'm not seeing any major incidences pop up on the live timing, so it might be free and clear to take a normal pit stop and get back out on the black stuff. We'll check back in there in a few moments time, but here's Keon Maduro and Javier Sierra still battling it out in their bout for 6th and 7th now as they inherit one during the pit stop cycle.
This is where the strategies come in. I've got to ask, when it comes to the pit stops, do you feel that the overcut works better here at Bathurst or the undercut on drivers? I mean, we've seen a lot of mistakes starting to creep in from these drivers that have been kissing the wall. Is it better to just try keep pushing along, feel what the tires are going to do, feel the drop off, or do you that maybe the undercut, knowing that there is problems ahead of you, you're trying to get away from traffic, just get yourself in, get into some free air, move forward? What's your take onto it? Both keep an eye on this race, and also to everyone at Grandstands, let us know, what do you think? Overcut or undercut here at Bathurst?
I was always preferable to an overcut strategy, especially at a long track like this. We are seeing lap times upwards of 121, 122 to 125 6 seconds. So what that means is that if you pit early, what's likely to end up happening to you and your race is that you'll pit into, or you'll come out of pits into traffic, meaning you'll be battling with cars that haven't necessarily made their pit stop cycle yet. So you'll be battling with cars not getting helped by blue flags, and it'll really just hinder your race as you're impeded by slower and slower vehicles throughout your stint. On the other hand, if you stay out for as long as possible, what ends up happening to your stint is that everybody else will typically take those pit stops away from you, and you'll be the last person standing on, this island, and you'll take your pit stop, come out into free and clear traffic, and be able to attack the mountain regularly and vigorously all over again.
True. That's one way to take a look at it. Kevin Coping, unfortunately, getting a meatball flag and dropping out of the order. I mean, I've just been watching drivers dropping off as they get the pit stops done and dusted. Nicholas Ono, who hasn't done a pit stop as yet, is now chasing down John Vaught, who has done a pit stop. The question that I start to think about is, I would rather want to go on the overcut here. Looking at how many mistakes are creeping in for the drivers around me, I would want to go that little bit forward. I want to see where I can make a bit of time. And as we do see Nicholas pulling into the pits to get himself sorted out, we have seen him go through it once, and it makes me wonder, are they getting close to their track limits? Now, that's something we haven't brought up too much. Is if you land up with track incidents, so contact is +4, off track is 1, slides are 2, and that can start making up a bit of time. As we do see Ono, who's getting some work done to his car, a very, very short stop, might be a bit of repair work, a minor bit of fuel going into the car, didn't take tires, but the first one could have been a drive-through as well. A couple of drivers I do think have been flirting with those track limits, and our virtuals sitting with a bit of a wooden spoon waiting for them to come through pit lane to remind them of keep within the lines, color within the lines, don't go over, as that little bit of creativity lands up, as we saw the chef that smashed to pieces, can be a little bit detrimental to one's health.
Surely it can be. Here is back in action, the Maduro and Sierra battle for potentially the top 5 We haven't checked in with them in a little bit of time. We're currently running in 6th and 7th with Cole Malley up the road by 5.5 seconds. He looks untouchable for now. Oliver Brooks is in the lead of the Pro-Am category right now, but currently has not taken his pit stop. Neither has Faraz Ibrahim in second place. Kobe Brooks in third for the Pro-Ams is taking that pit stop right now and will most likely lose a position to Owen Huffington in fourth.
Interesting stops coming into play. Kobe Brooks looking to try and undercut, was up 13 places from the start of this race. Owen Huffington up 10 places since the start. It's all going to change, but interesting to see how drivers are starting to feel the pressure. Like Maduro, quite comfortable coming down the mountain, actually opening up the spacing to the likes of Javier Sierra, who's able to close up in the first sector. And I wonder if the likes of Javier is starting to feel the damage to the car now, that little bit of understeer every so often starting to kick in, that mechanical grip not quite feeling there, maybe the confidence down the hill not quite at play. I mean, if you look at how Javier has been giving it everything he's got, he's slowly but surely been trying to think about next strategy, and this is a big move for Maduro, diving in pits. Javier Sierra managing to clear on by, and now for Sierra, this is either a make it or break it moment to just open up the distance for his pit stop, swings the car through, and the first time during the entirety of this race, he's in clear air. And now let's see how this Chevrolet is gonna do over the period of time as Maduro waits out Frank Peralt into the pits yet again. That is a driver that started out towards the front for the Pro-Ams, now just miles back, and his second time going through the pits. This would be third time going through the pits after landing up with damage early on.
Now Javier Sierra has the free and clear to be unleashed. Will he be able to get the overcut done on his counterpart, who's now headed out of pit row? A couple of grazes with the wall, and you can't help but see that livery out on track and smile when it comes over the crest like that. It just brings joy and tear to my eye.
Coming through I'm not in the nostalgia right now, giving it everything he's got, holding on to 6 with the fifth slightly up the road from him. Remember that at the moment, our top 8 cars I have yet to pull into the pits. And, well, saying that, call me a liar. Corey Jones dives into pit lane to get his pit stop done. He's followed by Joe Baptista as well. Carl Smith dives into the pits. Is it going to be Carl Ross to take a look, possibly diving into pit lane? Or is he going to take the option to go for the overcut? He's going for the overcut. So Carl Ross moving up into first place as our top 3. And Cole Malley pulling into the pits as well. Javier Sierra pulls into the pits. And well, oh well, this is turning into an interesting time as our front pack pull into the pits. Carl Ross opting to go a little bit longer to see where he can make the climb.
I like it, Mr. Ross. I like it a lot, I say. And the Reaper Racing number 4 can charge up the field and be unleashed. His last lap time around was a 2:02.35. His best lap time being a 2:02.4. So he's definitely found his pace and momentum, and his rhyme is gonna be just fine as he heads over the mountain, coming through the parks and now through Skyline. No grazes of the wall on entry, but his car is bottoming out. It's something of a setup change that he must have made to the vehicle to get it to ride a lot lower to the ground. Now, Steven, do you notice this a lot with drivers coming through the mountain, or not so much?
It's one risky move. To lower the car means that you got more airflow under sticks you to the ground a little bit more, makes you comfortable. But Bathurst is a very bumpy circuit, so you're bottoming the car up the whole time. You're relying on those bump stops to try and keep you in check, and you're going to constantly, every time you take that impact, and you'll see the sparks coming out, every time you get the impact, that upsets the car. So Carl Ross is running a very fast setup, but not a very safe setup. He's relying on pure pace. I mean, if you take a look at Carl Smith and also the likes of Joe Baptista, take a look at how their cars are navigating. Every so often there's a little bit of sparks, a little bit of a bottoming out, but the rest of the time they're running rather high. They're not wanting the car to have that seesaw effect underneath them. They're playing a bit of a safer game, and it depends on your driving style. If you can handle a very, very twitchy car like Carl Ross, go for it. Have fun. It's going to open up the distance. However, you have got very little room to play with. Oh. You have very little room, especially through Skyline. It's big mistake for Carl Smith into the wall, front, back, and that is all she wrote for that Mercedes, who he's going to try and get himself going, but feel the damage on the car. Carl Ross into the pits. Won't have to worry about Kyle Smith too much on the exit, but that is a painful run. And unfortunately, as the car lights up, Kyle Smith will battle his way through the mountain and will pick up severe understeer from that one.
What a huge gap has formed between the leaders. 8.2 seconds the margin between Corey Jones and João Baptista in the battle for P1 and P2. Carl Ross 2.8 seconds back from there. Kyle Smith 4.7 seconds back. And it's not come down to pit stop strategy. What has overcome some of these drivers to result in such large gaps? As we look at the pit stops, everybody has pretty much taken at least their one.
JC Chase with a black flag, and that was the SpongeBob SquarePants car that got it ultimately lost at the top of the mountain in front of the pack. JC Chase, who tried keeping it all together, unfortunately rear stepped out, landed up going and creating the concertina effect, and João Baptista actually lifted to try and mine out for JC Chase. Now has got Carl Ross all over the back of him, hunting down for second place as they make their way through. Carl Ross, who managed to get a beautiful stop, has a chance for second place for Baptista. This is a nightmare affair behind him.
It's looking good. It's looking for João Baptista. Flashy of the headlights, trying to let everybody else on the racetrack know that the leaders are coming through. Will the 81 of Kenneth Coping yield? He will yield that position, but unfortunately for him, it'll be Carl Ross also getting through in the 04.
And we've got a fight for 5th and 6th as Javier Sierra gains up to 5th. Carl Smith and Joseph Kelly seem to be swapping positions as well further down. So we have got small little battles starting to form around the circuit. Drivers pushing that a little bit harder to see what they can do. But Carl Smith diving towards pit lane yet again. And unfortunately, that is going to be a drop out of the top 10 for him. And I wonder if he picked up a bit of damage coming through the mountain, going and fighting it out. But for João Baptista, he is really hanging on for dear life, knowing Carl Ross is there. And this is where Carl Ross can utilize the extreme pace of his car, that lower ride height to try and help him out. However, the moment he gets hooked into that toe, he has got absolutely no drive against the Mustang. You can see the difference of Baptista. A little bit more comfortable over the bumps, not bottoming out as much, but is now just trying to keep it all together. Unfortunately for Baptista, he needs to close the distance of 12 seconds to Corey Jones, who he was fighting with early on in this race. And with 17 minutes left in this race, it is going to be deep breath moments, qualifying laps over and over and over. Last lap time was a 2:06.9 to Corey Jones's 2:02, and now he's just trying to dial up the wick and see if he can close the distance down.
Another gap that's closing down is between Jack Clark and Kyle Dersham. The battle between the 97 and the 93 out here on the racetrack. Currently is the battle for 8th and 9th between the 97 McLaren and the Ford Mustang number 93. In the overall category, GT3 Pro Class.
Dersham doing an absolutely phenomenal drive, trying to make up that time. However, it's going to be all about taking a deep breath to get past Jack Clark at the moment, who we've seen a couple of times over the course of this championship is not afraid to get elbows out defending to try and hold his line. And that McLaren is proving to be mighty fierce in a straight line compared to the Mustangs. And Jack Clark wanting to keep the momentum, wanting to score many points as possible here, with Kyle Dersham needing to also just look forward in the championship. Everyone hoping to get a stellar drive. But if we look at the most gains and losses right now, the ones that are running, it is Kobe Brooks, who is out in 3rd place in the Pro-Am class, up 13 positions since the start of the race, now into 14th position. I mean, that is just a tremendous run. There is a couple of drivers, unfortunately, out of this race due to various damage, crashing out in the mountain, and having Mount Panorama getting a couple of more spares to share with everyone, as we do see a puff of smoke ahead, and unfortunately also results in cars getting a little bit too excited on the exit of turn 4.
Big gains and losses for drivers up and down the field right now, but it's looking good for Corey Jones, who started in 2nd and is currently running in 1st, driving that 54 to victory with just 14:45 remaining. João Baptista in that Ford Mustang in 2nd place with Carl Ross, 1.7 seconds back. In the Pro-Am category, it'll be Oliver Brooks leading the way, and he's got Faraz Ibrahim in tow. Faraz Ibrahim is separated from him by about 17 seconds or so. Then we've got Kobe Brooks in 14th place overall, 3rd place in the category.
Ooh, don't pull commentators' curse out now. There's a couple of drivers that are hanging on dear life, so we've got to say everyone's going to finish. Everyone's going to be fine. Let's not have commentators' curse, because once the mountain hears you're doing well, it tends to pull out some sneaky tricks to carry you into it. I mean, we've seen it before. We've seen moments here at Bathurst that can take it and turn it on its head. Here in Breaking Bad, we've had those moments. And, well, I'm touching wood. I'm holding on to the wooden table just to make sure. But the last thing you want is to have a couple of drivers falling down the order. But I've got to say, it's interesting to have different names fighting up into the top 5 in both classes. This circuit has now gone and brought different drivers to the front end and different threats to the championship, and maybe, quite maybe, have just given drivers that we didn't think could go and move forward up through the championship that little bit of confidence to see, hang on, they do bleed. There's an option here. We can start to go for it. That extra bit of confidence building that can aim for the win in the championship in both classes. I mean, this is what makes this entire league exciting. Wherever you think, hang on, you can keep moving, that's it, you know who's going to be at the top. It's all about pushing to the limits here at Breaking Bad for our GT3 weekend showdown. I mean, this is it. It's all about pushing the limits of man and machine out on the track.
And what other way to test man and machine than at a grueling racetrack like this, with amazing GT3 machinery to be able to do it. One of the last races I saw here at Mountain Panorama was with GR86 cars, and that was a great time. But I think the Breaking Bad group might have broken it by a little bit, because this has been quite the entertaining race from green to checkered flag, although we haven't flown it just yet. It's been quite entertaining so far, and the drivers have continually put on a show for us.
Huffington, I've got to say, a driver I'm seriously impressed with, along with Nicholas. They've shown they can fight it out top, and both drivers at some stage of the game has led the field as Nicholas into the pits yet again. We see multiple stops here. Drivers, I've got to point out that our top 9 have only pulled into the pits once. Beyond that, the drivers have been getting into the pits 2-3 times at the time. I mean, this is getting into a very interesting situation on how long can they go. And looking at pit stop, they're not changing tires. They're deciding to keep on the same set of tires. And that means whatever tire deg you've dealt with at an early stage of the race, where you were running close to the competitors, you're pushing that a little bit harder, you were getting the lockups, well, you're now starting to feel it. With 10 minutes to go, you are busy sweet talking to them. You're trying, please just keep that little bit of grip. I trust you. You're just nice and gentle. You start trying to behave a little bit more on the steering wheel. No, the moment it gets that little bit of a slide, the chances of saving the car, that tends to evaporate rather quickly. And the last thing you want is have a little bit of slide at Skyline that at the moment has been taking parts enough that there's a beautiful service center of whatever you need. Mercedes, Chevrolet, Ferrari, they got it in stock.
Now, looking at the last lap times, you had me curious. The best lap time coming in was a 2:01.16 set by Corey Jones, and now the last lap time set by Corey Jones was a 2:02.21 that last time around. So you're definitely spot on about it. The tires are definitely fading away from the drivers at hand and causing them to drive a little bit more cautiously than they would have earlier on in the stint. Josiah Kelly with a black flag penalty will definitely be paying the price for that, unfortunately.
And that is another factor coming in. Incident points. How close are they to incident points? And well, for Kelly, that is it. Out of the top 5. Chances, bang smack, gone. And there goes Maduro. No problem. Seeing Kelly with a black flag. How close is everyone to a drive penalty? That off track, that single time you put the wheel slightly offline, that little slide can cost you so much. And with 8 minutes and 50 seconds to go, a drive-through penalty is the equivalent of kicking your pinky toe against a table in the dark in winter barefoot. I mean, this is just a nightmare affair and can completely swap things out on Likes of Kelly has been running clean, has been really moving forward, and now will have to serve a drive-through penalty. That's going to allow Jack Clark to get a bit closer. Clancy Gavin as well, Oliver Brooks. I mean, this has just turned the entire championship a little bit more on its head. And once again, how does it look like for Corey Jones, Joe Baptista, Carl Ross, Cole Malley, Javier Sierra, Maduro, who have also been having their own moments during. How close are they to the incident limit here at Bathurst?
It's very interesting to think that the drivers are reaching their incident limit. It almost add insult to injury here, because when you're getting incident points, you're most likely clattering with the wall for sure. Looking at Jean Voigt right now, currently in 11th place overall, driving the number 29 Lamborghini. And the driver is coming down through the chase now and almost clatters with the grass on exit, but it looks like they're using a Primac VR system, which is absolutely phenomenal. One of the best VR headsets on the market right now in 4K resolution as well. So I'm gonna have to get good friends with Jean Voigt eventually so I can buddy up and use his VR headset system.
I want to point out when he's on the brakes, he's moving forward in the seat, so he's not quite. The rest of the drivers prefer to keep themselves very close, utilizing your brake, you're pushing on your back. against the seat, he's a lot more forward sitting, and you can see how much he's actually moving in the seat, which is rather interesting on talking about how each driver is comfortable, but very upright for his sitting position compared to most. And as I said, using the Pimax is absolutely incredible. The resolution that you get to see around the circuit, the seeing into apexes. I've got to say, I prefer the VR headsets, but it also makes seeing these walls get a little bit more frightening as it's all right in front of you. The rendering distance becomes a bit of a factor for your PC, but for the driver, you can see into the corners, but when the mistakes happen, it gets rather frightening, and you can't help but clench every time you go through. We have seen single screens, triples, and VRs being utilized here, and drivers trying to move forward. For John Ford, he has got to keep the run through in this Lamborghini, as he's got Kyle Dersham chasing him down. That Mustang is clean in the mirrors, waiting for the next 5.5 minutes left in this race. And just listening to the radio, everyone's saying, look, I'm just trying to keep it clean. I'm trying to keep it together. Just want to see the end of this race without getting out, as Jesse Chase rejoins after having a long time in the pits. But for Jean Voigt, this is getting into a nightmare state of affair, because Carl Dersham has pulled the pin on the hand grenade and looking to try and gain a position here in the dying minutes of this race. The Lamborghini will have to utilize that V10 and scream its way to the top, trying to break the toe. And Carl saying, nope, I'm going to be right underneath that rear wing. Let's close down the distance. Let's have a bit of fun. Let's see who is brave enough on the brakes, charging up the hill. Kyle to the inside, late on the anchors, and it's got to be John around the outside. Tried his best, but just didn't have enough space to carry the momentum, and loses out to the likes of Kyle Dersham. John Voigt in the Lamborghini could not close the distance and carries his way through. Joseph Kelly, I've got to say, has not gone into the pits, is still got to hang it out and waiting with that drive-through. Got to get it warned. You've got 3 laps to serve it, and is getting very close to the 3-lap marker.
Unfortunately for Josiah Kelly, he might be arguing with the stewards, trying to plead his case, but for now, Jean Voigt can't plead his case to Kyle Dersham, as it's been settled already. But now he can try to challenge back here at Forest Elbow. A lovely livery that the number 29 is sporting. And I believe he's got one of those anglerfish on the side. A deep sea monster, only found in the depths of the Pacific. Now, the Deepwater Racing Team is trying to challenge forward as much as he possibly can here into the chase. He closes down the gap by a healthy margin, but will it be enough to get into the points?
It's going to be close for John. He's kept it together all race, and now just has to push that a little bit more. Kyle Dersham doing a wonderful time of just holding his line, seeing where he can make up that little bit of room to the Lamborghini, having a lot of torque in and out through the corners, but now going and supplying a little bit of a tow. 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in this race, and I've got to ask, who has enough in the tank? Actually, we keep an eye on this incredible battle as drivers trying to move forward. The likes of Joseph Kelly going and losing out to Jack Clark, and now all of a sudden Clancy Gavin behind him will also look to try and pass as quick as possible, and it's an easy pass. Joseph Kelly saying, look, I'm not going to fight you guys here. I know that I'm a problem. And for Clancy Gavin, it is about chasing Jack Clark. Don't know about you, it's gonna be an interesting one, but I'm nervous. 2 minutes left in this race, and we've got drivers still on each other's tail here, and all it takes, one critical mistake, and that's it. Race over, game over, no time to repair, and the Mountain gets to claim you one last time.
A 10.5-second lead can evaporate in a blink of an eye here at Mount Panorama. Although we are down to 1 to go, the white flag should be waving this lap by for Corey Jones. Will it be any mistake, or will it be mistake-free going into the final lap? Hopefully so for Corey Jones, the driver who was running pretty clean in green this entire time. Will take the checkered flag in 1 minute's time.
It's just a race to the line. This is going to be a moment and a half. Can you keep it all together? And Corey Jones, who fought like hell at the start, now trying to get going. And it does look like Joseph Kelly out with a full disqualification. Joseph Kelly pushed it a little too far and has been DQ'd, done, dusted, game over from riding in the top 10 to completely out of the race. But we still got fights on circuit. Clancy trying everything he can to get around Jack Clark. Late on the brakes, trying to send the Joker style as he fights his way through Dennis Cosby into the pits. And there's also the bye Dennis coming over the radio, but it is a fight between them. I've got to say, Clancy's giving it his absolute all. He's throwing it every which way possible, trying to find that inch to get the nose forward on the Mercedes. Down into Forest, that bloke couldn't quite get it done on Jackie, who runs out wide. It's a drag race down the Conrad Straight.
Beautiful attempt at an attack, going down into the Forest elbow, but it wasn't without Jack Clark's compliance, who went a little wide in avoidance there, who avoided the contact with 73 of Clancy Garvin driving the Mercedes AMG. And it looks like we will get that official bonus lap. Corey Jones will lead us into the cutting for the final time.
This is just turning into a phenomenal drive. Corey Jones in the Aston Martin kept it all together as we got Karen pulling into the pits as well with a drive-through penalty right at the last. And once again, those track incident limits starting to play into effect. Corey Jones, though, I've got to take my hats off. A driver that's kept above 10 seconds to Joe Baptista, despite at the start of the race, the two of them so evenly matched. It came down to who stopped, who's got the better drive, who kept the tires alive the longest. I mean, Corey Jones at the moment has shown world-class driving. Oliver Brooks as well in the Pro-Am sits into the top 10, the only Pro-Am to sit into the top 10, as it's a big move for Clancy Gavin, who goes and loses the drive. And Maduro getting absolutely mobbed. Jack, unfortunately, caught behind the Mustang. And Maduro just trying to keep it all together. Little clips onto the wall as Jack tries everything to close down the distance. But it took a back marker to throw that into disrepute. And now Maduro having a stellar drive. But coming up to the finish line. Ladies and gentlemen, put your heads held high. Give him a round of applause. Corey Jones takes the victory here at Bathurst.
Beautiful drive from Corey Jones with João Baptista bringing it home in a hard-fought second place. Carl Ross in third place with Cole Malley bringing it across the line in fourth. I told you he was a top 5 contender, and there it was.
Yeah, you went and called it. You said it will happen. A brilliant burnout coming in from our race winner. But it is going to be Oliver Brooks to take the victory in the Pro-Am, with likes of far as Ibrahim in second, Kobe Brooks in third at the moment. But there is Oliver, who's just kept it all together. The only Pro-Am in the top 10. Been riding a little bit alone for quite some time, but is going to be smiling all the way to the bank, taking home full points in the class. And gotta say, what a stellar run. I mean, that was just absolutely incredible running. Oliver Brooks will see the checker flag and have one of the biggest smiles out there on the field. what a race. And I've got to say, this has been such an entertaining race. From drivers clipping the wall, drivers trying to see what they can do to get it to the end, and others, well, getting caught out by incident limits. I mean, we've had it all here. The drama of Bathurst still lives on.
I told you at the top of the show, I was kind of arguing with where I wanted to be at the end of the day. I still wish I was out on track with the drivers. It looked like they had an absolute blast this evening, and I wish I was there for it with them as well. We'll get the official results posted here in a little bit, but biggest takeaway for the night, Steven, what do you think? What do you think about this race, and did it meet your expectations, to say the least?
Gotta say, to see our top runners that qualified highest landing up further down the field and not going and taking the win. I do want to point out, though, there is a no-win king that is out on the track, and that's likes of Carl Malley, who came out in fourth place. But Corey Jones got the victory, followed by Joe Baptista. Cole Ross in third, Carl Malley in fourth place. No-win king is followed by Javier Sierra, Clancy Garvin, Jack Clark, Kieran Maduro, Kyle Dersham, and John Vaught rounding out our top 10. Dennis Crosby, Joseph Kelly, unfortunately landing disqualified, with Kyle Smith in 13, Jet Cotterman and Rafael Rodriguez, Jeremiah MacArthur in 16th position. The usual front runners having the worst time around the track for our pro class.
In the Pro-Ams, it'll be Oliver Brooks who led Faraz Ibrahim in P2, Kobe Brooks in third, Nicholas Orwano in fourth, Owen Huffington, Kenneth Coping, Frank Perot, and then Shahan Kareem. Nicholas Paul, James Clark will round out the top 10. Jesse Chase, Philip Kelly, Doug Miller, Christopher Adams, and Chet Miller will round up to 15 in the AM category.
Absolutely incredible racing. What a drive. What a race. What an exciting moment. And, well, the mountain claims, and the mountain can bring some satisfaction. For some drivers, it's back to the drawing board. And I've got to say, what a race, Bakshi. What a race we got to see here moving forward. And it just brings further excitement, because this is only round 3. This is so close to going and moving forward. I mean, drivers have to see what they need to do. The schedule is only getting better and better. Round 4 at the Red Bull Ring, you're going to have drivers who thought, I didn't quite have the best of race in a couple of rounds. Now I have a chance to move forward. And where can I stand on top? I mean, for the likes of Joe Baptista losing to Corey Jones was a fight at the start, but why did the Mustang fall off? Back to the drawing board. Take a look at what's happened. And remember, we're going out of week 13. The new BOPs are coming to the cars here in iRacing.
Yeah.
Script yet again for all our drivers, having to relearn the cars. And, well, we're in for an exciting race, that's for certain.
It'll be really interesting to see how the drivers end up faring throughout this championship, as well as they get to grips with the newer cars that come out, or the newer updates, I should say. But it was a great race from Corey Jones, Joe Baptista, Oliver Brooks, Faraz Ibrahim, all the way back to Christopher Adams, Rafael Rodriguez, Chet Miller, and Jamie MacArthur as well.
Well, with that being said, Red Bull Ring, exciting times, and I can't wait to see it. But that being said, I see that you've got yourself lined up with our race winner, our overall race winner, and our pro winner, Corey Jones.
Mr. Corey Jones, that was a hard-fought battle with the mountain, but a hard-fought battle with João Baptista as well. Talk to us about your feelings post-race.
Oh, I'll tell you what, my underarms are very sweaty, I'll tell you that. It's definitely a very tricky track, that's for sure.
It's a very tricky track with some very tricky opponents out there. The Brazilian man was no slouch when it came down to qualifying. You guys were neck and neck there. Did you think you had it in you to best him?
I was definitely trying, that's for sure. I definitely thought one of my laps was going to be good enough, but then yeah, the last lap was not the greatest. I missed the hairpin going up the mountain, so that sort of solidified my position there. And then I saw him come out the end. I was like, oh, now we got someone to give me a bit of a run for my money, which is good.
Absolutely. Now, I don't mean to be ignorant, but it sounds like winning on home turf was a bit of a moment of pride for you. Now,
Oh, 100%.
awesome. Okay, so I'm not ignorant. I'm
No,
actually,
definitely not.
Actually, didn't
No.
recognize the Australian flag properly. Perfect. Glad to know it. That I'm not just another dumb American. Thank you so much. Now,
No, it was good.
now, Corey, is this a track that you've obviously practiced a lot to be good at? I mean, it's a track that you definitely need to know like the back of your hand, right?
Oh, definitely, especially over the mountain. I've always been a big fan of my Japanese toge runs and stuff like that, so this track definitely suits that to a T with my driving style for sure. So for it to be in my own country, it definitely makes it well worth the effort that you put into it, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Thank you very much for joining us, Corey Jones. Now, is there anybody you'd like to shout out or anybody you'd like to thank before we wrap things up with you?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Get Good. That's who's running on the car this season. And I saw that Jack Clark, also my teammate in Pro, he also got up there in P7. So that was, I could hear him. He was very energetic and very excited about that. So yeah, very good outing for the Get Good team, that's for sure.
Great outing indeed. Thank you very much for joining us here in the Racers Nexus broadcast booth. Hopefully it's not too cold out there for you, but have a great night. And as always, stay safe, Mr. Jones.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Take care.
I think we've also got to say a well done to Nick, who led the Pro-Am field, first time out in the league. A massive welcome to him, and putting on a brilliant show as well. So, well, I've got to say, I'm looking forward to the next race. I'm looking forward to the Red Bull Ring. I'm looking forward to seeing how the championship turns out, because Corey Jones has now got the big target on his back to stay at the front. But with that being said, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification icon here at the Racers Nexus. We're actually taking a look at the race, your thoughts, your sum up of this incredible season thus far.
I still don't know if I want to be behind the mic or if I want to be on the other end of the camera week after week. The Breaking Bad League is exactly where you want to be on Saturday evenings for some intense action-packed racing. With the way they have their classes divided up into pro and a pro-am category, it gives everybody a chance to fight for something. A title, a championship, a bout, a battle at the end of the day. It's all what we crave for here in iRacing. Well, thank you very much, Stephen, for joining me. Do you have any final takeaways from tonight?
Folks, hang on to your hats, strap in, because the championship is only just getting started. A massive thank you to all the drivers, to all the teams, and to everyone out in the virtual grandstands. And we can't wait to see you for our next round, sitting at the beautiful Red Bull Ring out in Austria. And we're looking forward to seeing who can maintain the top of the log come the end of the championship. I mean, this is in for a bright and brilliant one, and that is happening on April 4th. So mark it down in your calendars, April 4th at 10:30 p.m. EST, to catch the Breaking Bad GT3 Racing League Season 2 right here on the Racer Nexus.